Bless you. And we're going to do this again. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, my thing came back for my symbol.
Yeah, that's cool. That works. All right. All right. So the Cicada 3301, is that correct? 3301, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on it as a just completely outside observer? We're just sitting over here, a couple of stupid few YouTubers sitting around, and we just heard about it. It seems really complicated for it to be a single person to do it. It seems to me more like a multinational
Player,
effort to
yeah,
display
yeah,
talents.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
no.
Yeah, I
I
think it was
think they were
I think it was
looking.
designed specifically for that. Like they were literally looking for specific people when those people solved the specific puzzles. It's not a solve, it's not that, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like they're literally looking for certain kinds of people that have a specific type of like thought process. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think is it was, like I said, a multinational conglomerate of intelligence agencies working together to pick and choose the people that they wanted, like chess pieces on a board. But that's just my theory.
Vetting. That's the word I
Roanoke
was looking
Tales
for.
has gone quite deep into this particular avenue of discussion, and I'm going to go at it about 30 seconds to a minute left and see how we go. All right. Any complaints? It's going to work.
Mm-mm.
Hey, we have somebody else around. Cool. Gina Diamond has joined the chat. Okay, I see you got it figured out. Awesome.
Yeah, that's from
Everyone knows
one
a
of
good
my homies.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll even let me make sure everything's copacetic down here. Right. Okay. So that everybody can see the people for a moment before we get off into the weirdness that's fixing to happen, because this is something completely different. Mr. George Coggins, good to see you, bud. Welcome in. And roll that beautiful bean footage.
The idea that there is more to something than meets the eye. It might be because we're so used to having the answers to everything at our fingertips nowadays, but there is something about a puzzle and finding a solution that just scratches that itch for a lot of people in a way that little else can. The internet, for better or for worse, has become home to a lot of mysteries. Not just by providing a place where we can all research and collate our information on mysteries from the real world, but as a place that generates strange situations all on their own. There have been plenty of examples over the years of websites, pages, and just stories that exist entirely online that have baffled and stayed with those that experienced them for years after the fact. And it could be argued that Cicada 3301 is one of
Y'all remember that image, right?
Oh yeah,
Thing's been
Yeah.
everywhere.
yeah.
In 10 minutes.
What's happening in 10 minutes?
Gina Diamond is going live in 10. Just wanted to come show some love. Thank you, Gina. We appreciate it wherever you're showing it at. It's always good. Mr. Me and LG. I like that. That's pretty good. Sarah Chapman, welcome in. Good to see you.
one of the most mysterious ones that have ever popped up. And that is exactly what we're looking into today. As with a lot of the more interesting content on the internet, the Cicada 3301 saga can trace its roots back to one of the most infamous places on the net, the boards of 4chan. It's always 4chan if you didn't know. For good or for bad, a lot of what is famous, enduring, and let's say memorable on the internet can be
Here's another option we have. This is also a possible layout.
traced back to here in one way or another. The date is January 2nd, 2012, and the following message appeared in white text on a black background, what would become the group's most signature design. Hello.
Which one do you prefer? This one or this one?
I mean, both of them are pretty cool. I think that looks
I
really
like
cool.
them
Like, I don't
both.
know how that looks on Rumble. Yeah, I'm gonna look
Okay.
in a minute.
The other way makes me feel better because I can see myself talking.
Oh, you know it? Yeah, when it's working. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Right.
when the thing's up there because I can see my circle light up.
Okay. Well, we'll roll with it like this. Let's see what happens when I do that. We'll do it this way there. Eh,
We are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test.
I don't think that's enough of a difference. I think that's just as effective.
There is a message hidden in this image. Find it and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301. As to how you went about solving this puzzle, well, even following along with the published and verified solution, it gets complicated extremely quick. Far more complicated than even I am capable of understanding, which now that I've said that out loud, that sounds really douchey. Anyways, how anyone, far less multiple people, were able to get all the way through just shows how elite the minds they were searching for actually were. If we follow along the solution published on boxandtrick.com, and I'll post like a link to that, then the first step is to download the invitation image and run it through a text extraction tool. This yields the text Tiberius Claudius Caesar. Not exactly how you say that, but hey, that's how I say that. Amongst a string of otherwise random seeming numbers, which then tells the solver the exact type of cipher that will be being used on the text.
What you
By
reckon?
plugging the seemingly random text string into the Caesar cipher, it generates a link to an image posted on the site IMGUR or IMGUR or whatever you want to call it. When the first solvers got as far as this, and
We will call it George. They found it on the George site. And that's where it was.
excitedly plugged the link into their browser, the image of a duck popping up must have elicited a groan from the more seasoned 4chan users. Was this complex riddle nothing more than an elaborate duck roll, the precursor to the much more famous widespread rickroll? Fortunately not. While the image itself contained the text, "Whoops, just decoys this way, looks like you can't guess how to get the message out," there was in fact a lot more of the rabbit hole to go down. People successfully worked out there was a stenography tool called Outguess, and picked these two words out of the message.
Good to see you. Got Bo Omega joining. Freaking still showing up. That's cool. Scrappy Dreams. Stephanie Jinks wandered through the door a moment ago. We got Truth Be Told Audits in the building somewhere. He's chilling.
See, they've already made this too complicated for most people using the internet back then.
You're not wrong. You are dead correct on that. But you have to remember there are always basement dwelling trolls perfectly willing to completely obsess over some tiny detail that is never in short supply.
I'll never get that.
I mean, so you're telling me all I have to do is say that I've been putting a secret code in my shorts for the last 6 months and someone's going to go crazy over it?
It's very possible. That is not an unlikely event. Should you happen to desire to drive someone crazy, just imply that you might have done something and they will, and like people, yeah. No, it could, you could trigger somebody. ATL Transparency News showed up. It's good to see you, bud. I'm still kind of torn on all this layout finagling. I don't know. It seems effective. I mean, we got like 23 people in here. I've got 14 in my specific chat. It's
It's going.
it is happening. I did kind of want to try to get the chat on the screen though, and that's kind of a hiccup in all this. So basically, the choice comes down to either the guests are on screen or the chat is on screen. That's
But
the
if you
difference.
were using Restream, you could have that on the screen. You could have chat
Not
on
in
the screen.
vertical. Not in
You
vertical.
can't what? Not no,
I can't-
really?
As far as I know, you can't do it in vertical. I don't think. Probably can actually.
I don't know. Let me grab another phone.
Oh my god.
Target.com. Technique of hiding data within an ordinary non-secret file or a message to avoid detection. Essentially, it is the art of managing to obscure a secret message within a seemingly innocuous or innocent-looking file that is accessible to everyone, where only those with the knowledge and ability to look further will pick up that extra information. How exactly this tool works and the methodology it uses is beyond the scope of this video, but boxandtrick.com assures us that this tool spits out a book code and a series of numerical references. For any who want the exact ins and outs of this solution beyond this point, please visit the article linked in the description because it only gets more complicated from here. But here's a brief overview that shows just how expansive this first version of the puzzle was. The codebook was found in a specially made subreddit alongside some images, and the first examples of this message were the people behind Cicada 3301, which they used their specific and unspoofable signature. This would serve to differentiate between the authentic posts and the messages that were from the group, or really just any trying to impersonate them. There were more images, text disguised by ciphers, solutions involving prime numbers, and Mayan numbers, as well as text from an obscure piece of literature book about King Arthur. Again, we are skipping.
All right, that is getting pretty doggone deep. That's wild.
When I heard this puzzle or whatever it was called Cipher, I was lost within the first 2 minutes. I watched this in high school. I was like, dude, I don't know how these people do that.
It's an old one, but like I said, I believe it was an early psyop in search of native talent for like 3-letter organizations out there.
Yep.
That was my first thought.
But the only problem is they're looking for someone that has knowledge in about 37 different fields who does not exist.
That's not necessarily true.
No, they're looking for people who have higher functioning thought patterns. You don't necessarily have to be smart to look at that picture and go, hey, that's although you might have to do some research, and excellent research tactics are also useful in government bureaucracies.
Skipping over and trivializing what is in fact very complicated and detailed, solving basically the whole puzzle at this point. So just understand that just within the last few minutes of talking, this was collectively a bunch of human brains that would beat quantum computers in solving this. That's because human brains are way better than quantum computers, probably. Following these and many other steps, a phone number was found that played a short message with another riddle that pointed solvers to a website with a countdown.
Wild.
Very good. You have done well. There are 3 prime numbers associated with the original final.jpg image. 3301 is one of them. You will have to find the other 2. Multiply all 3 of these numbers together and add a .com on the end to find the next step. Good luck. Goodbye.
ATL is solid.
When the countdown reached 0, the website
He's a
updated
real
to show
dude, I
coordinates
promise.
related to real-life locations. And given that these locations were in Europe, Asia, and the US, as well as Australia, this was where the collaboration of the international solvers came into their own. Each of the locations was visited, and they found a poster with a trademark image of a cicada and a QR code. More riddles followed, referencing to similarly obscure texts and ciphers tied up in bizarre pieces of
That's the
hard to
real
obtain
deal there,
literature,
George.
and eventually
Thank
directions to access an address on the Tor network. Those that successfully got this far were met with the following message. Congratulations. Please create a new email address with a public free web-based service, one you've never used before, and enter it below. We recommend you do this while still using Tor for anonymity. We will email you with a number within the next few days in the order in which you arrived at this page. Once you have received it, come back to this page and append a slash and then the number you received to this URL. For example, if you received 389-489-423-093-4209, then you would go to http://http://sq6wmgv2zcs.onion/389-489-230934209, and then it just ends with 3301. So basically,
all right. So when you solve the first image, it takes you to a second image that tells you that you failed. But if you process the second image to source, it takes you to a set of geographic coordinates. If you go to the geographic coordinates, you get what is essentially a barcode entry to a new website that allows you to access a new code through a phone number. You take the new code, transpose it into a website that allows you to access a different bit of information. Does this sound like the kind of shit one person would come up with?
No,
It takes a village.
Takes a village to have an idiot too, but what I'm saying,
I'm not an idiot.
I'm that idiot.
No, that's my job, Em.
Oh no, you're the nice guy. No, you're the nice guy. I'm definitely the idiot for sure.
I mean, the fact they're making people try to learn what prime numbers are, or
Oh
correction,
man, my brain.
multiply prime numbers.
This is what happens when you're stoned. You trying to
What
do math.
happens to the people who couldn't afford the plane ticket to go get the QR code off the telephone pole out in like Nebraska?
All right, so it was such a popular puzzle thing that people created forums, chat rooms, entire websites dedicated to
Yeah,
accept
Reddit.
all of it.
There's
There were
mad Reddits
thousands
about
of
this.
authors on it. I'm telling you, whatever puzzle you come up with, the American public can be more autistic than it is difficult. Bored Ape Club token is the crypto that done something like this. It's a little different.
I
just
mean,
read you
just the picture they used, you
Not
have to
so
have an obscure library book.
and set up emails as requested, including a music-based
Yeah,
one. But
but
the exact
that's
ins and outs were only based.
that's one of the steps in solving the code. That's what I'm saying is this isn't the kind of thing that a single person would have experienced throughout his life and applied to a long drawn out circuitous code in order to what nobody who ever figured it out. I don't buy that. I'm more inclined to believe that it would have been perpetrated by either a government or a group of state actors working in unison to try to find the right useful morons in the population. That's my guess.
But if they would have looked at the studies back in, what was it, the 50s when the CIA did this originally, you find people who are completely useless at anything else other than puzzles.
Well, not necessarily, not in all cases. When you're looking for a native talent, you're looking for someone who has like exceptional logistical skills or exceptional collative skills or information arrangement skills. These aren't the things that you can like teach in a class.
Yeah.
Practice will make you better at it, but you can't like go to a class and learn how to count cards.
Yeah, but if you like to count cards for the dopamine hit it gives you, then you can go and count cards. Same thing with people who do puzzles. They do it because of the thrill of the puzzle, not because
Yeah.
of all the process that it takes to do it.
Well, the process is the puzzle in this case. They're looking for a
Oh.
very particular type of person with a particular type of psyche.
The hard part's going to be convincing them to work with you.
Okay,
After
sure.
you
Well,
find the 1 in 10 million person.
okay, you go and find that 1 in 10,000, and that will and then you got to find 75 of them in order to get one that's functional in a unit. That's fine. That's still a cost analysis benefit for any state that happens to recruit you. And
I mean,
furthermore,
I guess if the paycheck's big enough,
you get logged even if they don't select you as one of the agents, provocateurs, or whatever it is they're looking for. You get logged as a resource for future utilization in the event that they need somebody who happens to be able to do just what you do.
I don't need my name on any more lists.
You're in the wrong neighborhood, bro.
On really what those who got this far have shared. Eventually, a final message was posted, which concluded the puzzle, at least for the first year. Hello, we have now found the individuals that we sought. Thus, our month-long journey ends. For now, thank you for your dedication and effort. If you were unable to complete the test or did not receive an email, do not despair. There will be more opportunities like this one. Thank you all, 3301. And that served as the conclusion.
All right. So I came across a alternate theory that was, hey, Terry Charms, welcome in, girl. That was interesting to me, at least. The theory was, if you remember, there were a handful of time travelers, supposed time travelers, that popped up in the early days of the internet. And during this same time period, there were no less than 3 avowed time travelers who were regularly uploading material. And the theory was that one of the time travelers needed a particular brain pattern for some reason, and he was the one that perpetrated this whole thing in order to find enough people to
Oh,
pull off whatever it was he was trying to do. I always really liked that theory.
yeah.
That makes more sense than anything else I've heard
Yeah.
about this.
Isaac,
Because he probably needed help getting home.
something like that, I'm sure.
You know, like
Or
They find a team, but then if you're looking at people that can track the data, track the IPs, track all that, like I don't know who's looking for those people.
right, that's kind of the backwards thinking model for this retro engineering. Why someone would do this, the determination would be either a group of state actors or a time traveler might need a specific ability to calculate a specific destination that he can't calculate, but some people can just look at the right picture and know the answer.
Yeah, it could have had something to do with some of the subjects in the puzzle and not the puzzle itself, even if he was looking for an answer and used us as like a quantum brain to find it.
Exactly. That's
I think how that
exactly
would
the
make
theory, something like that.
AI.
Well, AI doesn't have brainwaves and can't jump to a conclusion. The theory was that he needed someone that could do heavy duty mathematics without actually having to process the math itself. So it would be a case where you just show them a bunch of numbers and the kid reaches over and pokes a point on the map. It's right there. Okay, go home. I'm done with you. You have a lovely evening. Have a nice life.
Well, alrighty then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, before any of this, like I didn't know you were gonna dive into any of this conversation, but when you started playing it, that's my first thought was like, it seems like they're looking for people to be able to do this, not just for fun.
Right.
First thought, but I don't know.
Wow. Okay, that was Smoking Auditor dropping out and dropping back in.
Conclusion for the first
yeah, I
year.
have a storm going on here.
Duration of the puzzle, there are testimonies from people who claim to have gotten all the way through the process and then say they were recruited to a software team. No specifics are offered other than to say it was geared towards IT security in some form or fashion. Now, I mean, that's totally possible because typically when you go into anything security related, you're going to sign an NDA, which means they can sue you if you talk too much about it. I sign NDAs all the time, which means I could be sued if I talk about things. So you just kind of don't. But the appeal and the hype that it generated, or at least in one small corner of the internet, had many more eyes ready and waiting to see if there would be a follow-up the next year. Then came the next installment. The next year, in 2013, a dedicated subreddit was created, which still exists today at reddit.com/r/cicada. Here, those curious about the puzzles could compare notes and theories on what it was all about. And almost an exact year after the first riddle appeared, Cicada returned with another similar image to start the whole process over again. On the 4th of January, a familiar-looking post appeared with phrasing somewhat similar to the first, again, on the boards of 4chan, and once again with white writing on a black background. Hello again, our search for intelligent individuals now continues. The first clue is hidden within this image. Find it and it will lead you to the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301. The premise and process of cracking the code was similar in a lot of ways to the first year, and if the technical intricacies of the solving interest you, then you can find the full details in the same place as the first one. To give a very brief overview, again, quantum computers versus human brains, there were ciphers, books on the occult, and the seemingly ever-present outguess and downloadable files. There were a few strings that led solvers to a Twitter account with seemingly random strings of letters and numbers as tweets. After more technical wizardry and solvers collectively working out the next few steps, they were once again directed to a .onion site. The exact details of how these clues were deduced is either fairly complicated if you are, working with a knowledge of hex code and binary, or completely baffling to the majority of internet users, such as myself. There is no shot I would have figured this out. Again, there are steps that vary from incomprehensible to potentially genius if you possess the knowledge to understand them. Again, I don't. And I'd encourage you again to look up the intricate details of exactly what was done if you even have a passing interest, because who knows? Maybe you'll have a Jimmy Neutron brain blast and you'll be the guy that solves the very last one because nobody else has. Eventually,
Still an active code out there, folks. What's up, Tiffany's Epiphany? Good to see you, girl. Yup. We're playing with new stuff tonight. My new hotness. What you think about that? I wonder how it's going to break up as like where we get like 10 or 12, 15 people in here and it starts stacking deep this way. I wonder how that's going to look. It's going to be wild.
there was a real world coordinate spat out like the first time, leading to 5 US locations, as well as one in Russia and Japan. Again, there was the famous logo and phone numbers, although they had additional access codes that referenced back to a table that had been deciphered earlier in the puzzle. I told you, it's far more complicated than can really be adequately expressed here, but I'm basically giving you the quick and dirty. So the end result, after another few brain-melting deductions, was a quick-fire quiz that respondents had to complete. Depending on their answers, some were contacted by the group later, and once again, this marked the end of the trail for the second year. Similar to the first time around, there were various reports from alleged successful candidates that claimed to have gotten all the way through and said they were tasked with various software work for the shadowy group, but these remain unconfirmed. While the interest in...
It is intentional that my screen is weird. I meant to do that.
I do have some experience with like some sort of people looking for intelligence on some level and offering jobs, because I had a bad breakout in my apartment and I destroyed the whole thing, but they went in and found my papers and my math and stuff. And I had the FBI show up to my house and like they interviewed me to make sure I wasn't a terrorist and I wasn't going to use the math. And interviewed me, said this is how I got my job here.
Well, I mean, whatever it takes, man. Although you're definitely on a list.
I
Yeah,
was
for
gonna
sure.
say you're on a list.
Yeah, no, I know that.
So do you work for the feds now?
No, he just told me that's how he got in.
See, this is why you don't keep stuff written down.
Oh, come on, bro. I gotta write
I
everything
was
down. You
in
know that.
college and I wanted to solve a puzzle, literally. So I'd made certain equations.
And they were like, "What are you doing with that math there, boy?"
Yeah, you
And
have
I
some
asked them, I was like,
weapons
"Wait,
grade mathematics.
before you guys leave, was it right?" And they're like, "Yeah."
He's got weapons
Nice.
grade mathematics. Folks. Y'all be careful. He'll
Yeah.
break that math out. He'll kill everybody in this room. I'll chill. He's got math and he's not afraid to use it.
Be surprised what you can do with calculations, a banana peel, and a pencil. Add a rubber band in there, you can do some real MacGyver stuff.
That damn math shit.
The
I
ongoing
mean,
tale
pool is nothing but angles.
puzzle appeared for the third year, there were 2 things that became immediately apparent. The first was there were more eyes on it every year, and as such, more chances for people to work together to pool their mental resources. But the second thing that was really evident was the difficulty of the puzzle had increased dramatically. As it would happen, the third and final year was the first time that, at least as far as anyone can tell, no one managed to solve it all the way through to completion.
His math was mathing.
Not as far as the group behind the mystery or any solver had openly admitted. Again, around the same fateful date as the 2 previous times, January the 6th, the year of 2014, marked the publication of the third and ultimately final riddle. A Twitter post went up with the now familiar white writing on a black background reading, "Hello, Epiphany is upon you. Your pilgrimage has begun. Enlightenment awaits. Good luck. 3301. It's now becoming a little more strange." An indication of just how difficult and complex the solution was becoming became clear when the group published a hint to the solvers, something that had never been done before to this point. Another full year passed, and the group published a second hint in January of 2016. Now, with 2 full years having passed without any successful solves. Kind of what this sounds like to me, and I'm just going to go ahead and spitball it, is there was something so obscure and kind of intrinsically personal to the creators of this puzzle that to them, it's kind of like a bias. It seemed like, oh, well, people should be able to get it. But the reality is that nobody would understand it because it was just personal to them. Perhaps they were relying on people that they had already hired, if they did hire anybody, and this isn't just an elaborate prank, just a prank, bro, to actually maybe leak information on how to like solve it, but nobody ended up doing it. So it could be that, but we'll get there in a second. So the usual rabbit hole started from the original image and involved numerical wizardry, text, and various codes, as well as ciphers of all the descriptions. Again, there was a .onion site as usual to visit, images to examine, and run through various programs, and all the while, the ever-present official signature of the group embedded at key points to let searchers know that they were still on the right tracks. However, somewhere amongst the hex editors, the plugins and data extraction would just come to a dead end. Even with the hints eventually released by the group after no progress could be made, it seemed as though the final iteration was eventually unsolvable. One of the great mysteries involves Liberis Primus, or First Book, which contains more than 70 pages. Solvers only managed to successfully decode about 20 of them, leaving the vast majority as yet uncracked and unsolved. So, with the puzzle at a seeming standstill, now might be a good time to ask, what exactly had it been all about? Obviously, with so many eyes on the mystery and the interest only growing as the puzzles became more known, there have been many different theories proposed as to what exactly Cicada 3301 was. The most straightforward and yet unlikely one is that it was nothing more than what it appeared on the surface, just a puzzle, albeit a very intricate and complex one designed to be difficult yet solvable. After all, even on the internet, there doesn't have to be some profound and in-depth meaning to like everything. For instance, there is no ulterior motive to the Times crossword or killer Sudoku. They are just to scratch an itch that is hardwired into the brains of a lot of us. Find the answer to this arbitrary question, and figuring out, beating others who are trying to do the same thing, and getting a sense of satisfaction after it really is all done. I mean, that's the reward that you need. Many pointed out that during World War II, while the code breakers for the war efforts were recruited from intellectuals and math wizards through conventional means, there were also examples of very difficult crosswords and other similar mundane puzzles that agencies used to recruit those with the correct sort of mindset for what they were requiring. Some thought it was worldwide recruitment tool of some sort, maybe the work of letter agencies from various countries. You know, the glowies. The evidence against this is fairly compelling, though. There are issues with how it was set out and the attention that it brought in the public sphere. Any government agency would essentially be putting a lot of trust in random people on the internet to keep their lips sealed. The very nature of the sort of person that would possess the skill set and interest to solve this sort of puzzle meant that it was not exactly likely to like swear themselves to secrecy. Many who would take the time and effort to decipher these codes and follow the white rabbit as far as it went would tend to skew away from regulation, rules, and hoarding of knowledge.
So maybe it was a test to determine the number of anarchists there are.
I don't know, but I think it's funny no one's realized that the first book that they have there is nothing more than a reference to a UR or a website. You just have to get each letter from each page, or should I say letter or number.
Interesting.
Well, it's
Oh.
only 70 characters.
I like it.
On the internet. Most in that very distinct sphere and group are vehemently against secrecy, both on the internet and in real life, and most would advocate against the sort of groups that have been suggested as using it as a recruitment tool. There is always a chance that someone would betray their morals for the right sum of money, but when many work under aliases and anonymously on the internet, money may not be the final goal. Is any amount of money worth the clout and recognition that you would get from solving the allegedly unsolvable puzzle and then blowing the lid on the whole thing? Telling your compatriots and fellow puzzlers that it was actually all a CIA or MI5 recruitment plot, or maybe even FBI, or it's the Freemasons. Okay, anyways. So specific people have been suggested as being behind it, and generally, it is the sort of people that would be for freedom of the internet. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Richard Doty. It should be noted that not only has no single person ever confirmed as being the architect behind the whole thing, as far as we know, no member of the group has ever officially been identified in any meaning way. So it's kind of like, well, who did it? So if the solution to the third iteration of the puzzle series has ever been found, then the person or people have not gone public with it. Most of this comes down to just how obscure the riddle had become by this stage. In fact, given some of the complications that the very capable minds had come up against when trying to solve the third puzzle, there are some that think this might just be truly unsolvable. Or possibly the final code is, you got to go and talk to a woman. The final message to the group, complete with their signature to verify its authenticity, was in April of 2017, simply saying beware false paths. And that was a joke earlier. I know smart people talk to women. Anyways, they followed this with an urge to always look for their PGP signature. And other than a vague promise to give out more hints in 2024, which, hey, we're there has been radio silence. And again, it's only almost February. By the time this comes out, it'll be February. But that is pretty much where the story of Cicada 3301 ends. Not with some world-shattering revelation or even with the final solution to the last puzzle. As far as anyone has been able to tell or figure out, it's just sort of fizzled out. That isn't to say it hasn't left a lasting legacy, though, and not only on the internet. There have been similar types of mysteries that have caught on to similar effects. All that we're really left with in the end is the last puzzle without any official solution and not a single official word from the group behind the entire experience for a number of years. If their last message is proven to be accurate, then they have promised to release another hint this year in 2024. When this is due or what form it will take is anyone's guess. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think late June it's going to come out. That's my official prediction. So while the mystery of the puzzle or what function it sought to serve is really kind of an unknown, it might be fair to say that the interest in it has fluctuated over the years. If you follow it back on Google Trends, you can see there are spikes and dips. Every single year, a new group of people will find out about Cicada 3301 and then go down the rabbit hole. It is still open to debate exactly what the project hoped to account for, but based on the comments of one of these successful solvers in 2012's initial puzzle, once he had answered a raft of questions about issues like censorship and internet anonymity, he was invited to work on a project with the team. According to him, he didn't ever complete his allocated work, and he had nothing to do with it anymore. While it seems fairly unlikely that it was ever a recruitment drive by any government organization, it's possible that some people believe that's exactly what it was. Over the course of multiple years, the project successfully singled out individuals who had extremely unique skill sets and brains that were wired to solve these intricate riddles. And would these sort of people not be a great asset to any agency anywhere around the world? The answer is yes. And although we may be left without any concrete closure when it comes to this, for any that are interested in it, all hope isn't lost. The information of past solves and the progress people have made with the most recent riddle are all readily available online. The hints posted by the group over the last few years are there to help you on your journey. And if you figure it out, let me know. So while the consensus may be that this last riddle is so complex that it is nigh unsolvable, there is always a chance that someone out there has the exact skill set and resources to make sense of it and crack the riddle once and for all. And with another clue being promised in 2024, there is arguably no better time to get your teeth into what has become known as the internet's most baffling puzzle. In the end, the true end goal of Cicada 3301 group and the riddles that they pose on the internet over the years don't really matter. The challenge has always been in figuring out exactly what the solution is, and that can be enough of a reward in and of itself. But I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, then leave a like would be fantastic of you, and subscribing is a great way to stay up to date on when I post. I wish I could solve a...
How you like them apples?
I think I know who's posting it. I think it's anonymous. They're looking for coders.
New York City.
That's not the weirdest thing I've heard.
Yeah. It's unsolved at this point. The whole thing's not done.
The whole thing's
Not the
done.
latest
Yeah, it's
one.
not done.
Wow.
But when you need to know ancient Nordic freaking coded messages in a 70-page book to get a website, it's going to be a little hard for people.
It sounds fun, but I wouldn't know where to even start.
Right? How do we even crank that part up? All right. So the next one is a dancer is fed to the homeless. The Monica Burley story. Beerley. All right. So this is from Evil Intentions channel. And they do some pretty creepy shit over there. I'm not gonna lie. It's not the most savory of content. Nothing. Yes. No.
I don't think I've. I'd have to look and see, because there's like a 50-50 chance that I've subscribed to so many channels. I need to.
I would
something
drop
about
the
that.
link into chat, but because I'm streaming across so many channels, I'm not a mod in most of the channels, so it wouldn't come up in the chat anyway. So,
It should come up in mine.
and M, so I'll do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, it just should come up over there.
Let's see if it works.
Back either one of
I
y'all
can repost
could,
it on
I'm
mine.
pretty sure can. Yeah, it can post on mine.
All right, come through on mine. Yes. Okay, and there we go. It probably won't go through on yeah, right. That's how you yeah. There you go. All right, everybody now has the link to this current channels to the current videos channel.
New York City's Lower East Side in the 1980s was a whole different world altogether. Known as one of New York City's oldest neighborhoods, the area would undergo massive changes over the last 40 years. But exactly how different was the Lower East Side from the one that you know today? The Lower East Side is comprised of some of the following areas: Chinatown, the Bowery, Alphabet City, Little Italy, and Two Bridges. While the Lower East Side, also known as the LES, is known for its Jewish history in the early 1900s, it wasn't until the 1960s that the Lower East Side would begin to develop into the Lower East Side that many speak so fondly of today. A place rich with culture and a mix of different people from different parts of the world. Despite the heavy crime, drugs, homelessness, and the landlord-driven fires that would bring abandoned buildings to the ground, the area would begin to draw residents who were musicians and artists, among other things. By the time the mid-70s rolled around, the Lower East Side was known as its own place with its own identity, separate from that of the greater New York City. Known as a central hub for all things creative, the Lower East Side became home to the sounds of hardcore punk and other forms of entertainment. But the hardcore scene would come with a message, and they delivered it loudly.
That beat's dope as fuck. I was feeling that. I was like, yeah.
That's not the most annoying thing I've heard today, but it's pretty close.
The Lower
man,
East
is he
Side
about to jump?
witnessed acts like Mags, Bad Brains, Black Flag, and many others. All while the scene would change the landscape of heavy, aggressive music forever. Venues like CBGB and the Peppermint Lounge were filled with avid listeners who all came from similar tribes. Aside from the hardcore scene, you had individuals who just wanted to fit in with people they could connect with and who might be in the same boat as they were. Maybe just trying to get by or maybe chasing a dream. The area already built up a reputation for some of the reasons already mentioned. And on August 6th of 1988, the Tompkins Square Park riots would further strengthen the idea that the Lower East Side wasn't just any other neighborhood and not for the faint of heart. Violence erupted between civilians and officers. Some officers covered their shields to avoid being identified. Many were hurt, and some of those attacked by the cops had nothing to do with the riot. They were just walking through the area or sitting on their front stoops of their apartment buildings. All this was, of course, before the Lower East Side would become notoriously gentrified. The area was slowly but surely being cemented into history, but not everyone who came out here to chase a dream was so lucky. Some were caught in the web of New York City's dark underbelly with no way to escape it. Today, on Evil Intentions, the story of Monica Beale.
So I kind of dig his whole intro setup. I like the way that worked.
Mm-hmm.
You got a pretty
It's
thumping
definitely
beat.
catchy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His dry delivery works, but I mean, I kind of feel like he's trying a little too hard to be creepy or official, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I've never heard this story though.
City of St. Gallen, a city with a population of only about 70 to 80,000 people when she was being raised in the 60s. This particular city, well known for having the most beautiful medieval castles in the world, known for its ski resorts, the Abbey Library of St. Gall, which houses the oldest collection of literature in Switzerland, and the Natural History Museum of St. Gallen, just to name a few. Monica had plans of coming to the big city and chasing her dreams of being a dancer. She received a certificate for teaching and choreography from the Juice Leader School of Dance at Darrington Hall in Devon. She was described as an energetic spirit who always wanted to push her life and her art to the limits. And in 1985, after receiving a scholarship from the Swiss government, Bill would make her way to New York City. While in New York City, Monica would put her scholarship to good use and attended the Martha Graham School of Contemporary
There we go.
Dance.
That's
She
how it's
attended
supposed
2
to
to
be.
3 classes a day. She enrolled in school in 1985, but left back to Switzerland in 1987 to tend to her ailing mother and to do a tour of her own dance routines. She toured in 8 different cities, places like Zurich, Lucerne, and Basel. She was deeply talented, according to Allison Sherman, a spokeswoman for the Martha Graham School. To make a living, Monica would start dancing at go-go bars on Times Square, back when sex shops and sex workers on the street was routine. Among the places she danced was Billy's Topless, located on 24th Street in New York City's Chelsea neighborhood, a small location that resembled more of a bar rather than a strip club. Billy's only contained a small bar and a little over 20 chairs that would surround the stage. A modest establishment, but enough for Monica to keep financially stable. She was very close to her family and spent a lot of time talking about them. Her family and the art of dance were the two things that Monica truly couldn't live without. She was focused and nothing could get in her way. In the summer of 1989, Monica would find herself down in the Lower East Side, a place she frequented often where she would meet with friends and pass by to purchase marijuana. She also lived there. At the time, she was living by herself at 171 Avenue B after leaving her old apartment at 93 Orchard Street. This is where she met Daniel Rakowitz, a traveling hippie, marijuana enthusiast, and part-time drug dealer from Edna, Texas, also the son of a Texas deputy sheriff. Rakowitz was described as a troubled soul who had his first brush with grief at an early age, witnessing his mother suffer a fatal heart attack in a hotel room.
That dude looks creepy to me.
It kind of looks like Jesus.
Maybe that's why he looks creepy to me.
Looks like a surfer.
I wonder how he got his beard to match his hair and same style of green, same shade. That's almost
I know.
impossible.
I was like, he kind of looks like Smoking Auditor too.
I assume it's blonde. It's probably the camera. That's just me. I don't know.
It's the time period how it was recorded. It's a RGB imbalance.
I love that shit.
His father would later marry Rakowitz's aunt, the sister of his deceased wife, but this too would come to an end. Over the years, loved ones of Daniel would mention his darker moments as a teenager, becoming addicted to drugs. He would make his way from Texas to Missouri, and finally to New York City's Lower East Side. There, he earned the nickname Chicken Man. People of the area recall Rakowitz having a pet rooster and sometimes walking through the park with a dead chicken wrapped around his neck. Rakowitz earned his money as a dishwasher and worked odd jobs while he couch surfed over the years, trying to find stability. He finally found his footing and began staying at 700 East 9th Street, just a few blocks away from the park. On the front door to the apartment was written, "Welcome to Charlie Gein's Spawn Ranch East," a combination of the names Ed Gein and Charles Manson. When the two met, they shared a joint and discussed living in the city. Monica was looking for a bigger place when Daniel suggested that she move into the apartment with him and the others that were also residing there. She could afford it, and
It's
it
a
gave her
cult.
the chance to have a better space. She
Weird.
accepted.
Charles
Two
Manson went to
celebrated for a
third
few
grade
more
with my
joints.
grandpa.
She also paid off Daniel's back rent.
That's
Say that
kind of
again?
cool. That's pretty fucking cool.
What
Tell
did
him
you
Yeah,
again.
it's
say?
weird. Super small town too.
His grandpa and Charlie went to school together,
Third grade.
elementary
Last
school,
picture.
in third grade. Yeah.
Third grade.
And he was like MK Ultra out, right?
Oh yeah.
I
That's what I think.
mean, maybe that's one of the theories among others. I personally think he was nuts and was groomed. That his particular brand of crazy was way ahead of its time, so to speak. Here's the problem I have with Charlie Manson. He was absolutely absorbed and obsessed by race. He believed that race would be the defining feature of the future and that only race would matter when it came to where you could go and what you could do, and that it would eventually break down into a race war that would never end.
Isn't that wokeism?
It does sound an awful lot like it, don't it?
Just saying.
I don't know. I don't know. Jury's
And
still out on that one.
I want to know who would want a pet rooster. I'd understand a pet chicken. You can get
It was
eggs from it, but
dead.
a pet rooster. No. The dead ones were dinner that night. I'm
Yeah, I'm
talking about
sure.
the live ones he was walking.
Yeah, one of those pictures had him with a rooster asleep in his palm.
Are you sure it
There's
was
supposed to be
asleep?
some trick for that.
There is. It's called it's chicken hypnotism, but it's just is you trick them into thinking it's nighttime. It's nuts. But anyway, can we all agree that this dude's nuts?
Yeah, for sure.
Start raving batshit crazy, like smearing the poop on the walls, boobies.
Yeah, he's giving that dude the crazy eye the whole time. He was staring at him.
Yep. Okay, we all agree on that. Cool.
What I want to know is how many people were living in this apartment and why they thought it was a good
was a
idea to let him move in.
That's a great question.
I'm just curious at this point.
That is an excellent question. I am also curious.
So that he was all caught up and he wouldn't get thrown out. Daniel had fears of becoming homeless again and dreaded the idea. When he had chances to earn income, he would visit a slaughterhouse and buy chickens, sometimes 20 at a time, slaughter them and cook them up in a soup. Then he would take that soup or whatever he cooked and pass it out to the homeless men, women, and children at Tompkins Square Park. If he couldn't earn the money, he would go to a nearby supermarket and ask for change and use that to buy ingredients for food. He knew what it was like to be homeless, and although it wasn't a place to rest their head, the inhabitants of Tent City would appreciate his kind gestures. Tent City was what they named Tompkins Square Park. The first week of August 1989, Monica's belongings showed up to the apartment and the move was underway. According to a friend who also lived at the residence, a woman by the name of Sylvia, Daniel prepared for Monica's arrival in a way she hadn't seen before. He had cleaned up the home in tip-top shape so that her arrival was as comfortable as possible. And on one occasion, Sylvia came home and found herself knocking to get in when Daniel took a while to answer. When he did, he was adjusting his zipper and pants and said that he was busy. He would go on to introduce Sylvia to Monica and explain that she would be moving in and taking over the lease. The next day, Sylvia and Monica had a conversation, and Sylvia decided to ask Monica about her and Daniel's relationship, since everything was moving so fast, and Daniel was never known to have women in the home. I asked her the next day because I thought Daniel was playing a joke. I said, "Daniel told me he went with you." Monica's reply, "He did." A short, serious response. The two had a brief sexual relationship that lasted just a few weeks. During that time, Sylvia would tell Daniel that Monica's affection for him was only as real as her desire to grab the apartment from under him.
All right, I just figured out what I don't like about this. There should be something going on right here.
In the middle,
You see how I got the smoke going? I should be able to go in the editor and create a doohickey there to put all of my, Rumble, TikTok, all the links and stuff right in here using a little moving mobile banner. The only real concern is when you do it this way, I'd have to do a different one that would wrap it around the edge.
Yeah.
And so it would be like when we're in this format, I would have something, a different background going.
Yeah.
But it would also somewhat move around, and I don't know. I can make it do stuff. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, it looks good. It's just I see what you mean though with the ticker banner
Yeah, when
thing
we're
and
like
that
this,
gap, that space.
There's definitely a wasted bit of real estate, I suppose. I don't know.
A little bit.
Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Has anyone else's StreamYard stopped telling them that chat is like talking?
Is chat talking? I don't know.
I don't know if it is or not, but mine it's not. It doesn't have a red notification thing that anything's going on there. Yeah.
Like I know people are talking in chat. It's just no longer working in my
I wonder if it's got
StreamYard.
to. Yeah, it's not working on mine. I mean, it's not showing up on mine, but I'm sure if I click it, those chats will show up. But like, it's not
I can
telling
go
me about
to
it.
Sasquatch's page real quick.
Well, I just did a test, and the chat is technically working, just nobody chatting, or I don't know, maybe we got kicked a while back and it just haven't registered on anybody. Huh?
Hold
We're
on,
still
I'm
hot and
looking.
live and going. All right.
Looks
I
like it's
guess they're
working.
just paying attention to this show. That's neat. That doesn't generally happen. Cool. Okay. Sorry I interrupted.
now that the rental was under her name. Daniel, in denial that he was being used, responded defensively. No, but she cares about me, and she wants to live with me, and she wants to be my roommate. Sylvia's response: Daniel, she wants the apartment, and she's going to take the apartment right from underneath you. She's going to have the lease in her name, and once it's in her name, she's going to throw you out. And I ain't going to be here anymore. And there's nothing I can say when the lease is changed over. So if she throws you out, you're out, and you're homeless again. Daniel
She didn't
responded that
even
he loved
marry him to take his stuff.
change the time. While Daniel was falling in
Well, if he's volunteering to put the lease in her name, once she has it, there's not a whole lot that can be done about it.
I mean, it still takes, depending on what state you're in, and stop putting me up top. I like being hidden in the bottom or to the left, or yeah.
Fine then. I'll stick her over there. I just wanted somebody on both ends. Man, my autism got to me.
love,
You don't like being on
Monica
the end?
didn't feel the same for Daniel. She broke off the sexual part of their relationship almost immediately and began inviting other men to the apartment. On one occasion, she invited a Jamaican man to spend the night with her. Daniel would later tell Sylvia she had a black man in there. She would go on to say that he looked hurt and seemed to be very upset at this. This was because Daniel had a deep and sometimes well hidden distaste for anyone who wasn't white, and also wasn't fond of the gay community. So while he may be pictured with people from all walks of life, he didn't exactly see them as equals. His hatred ran deep. Rakowitz would often begin ranting and talking about how he was God. He even started what was believed to be his own religion/cult, which he coined the Church of 966. He would talk about animal sacrifice, and it was believed that sometime before, Rakowitz had even decapitated a dog that he owned. He would talk about being placed in psychiatric wards at a young age and being forced to take Ritalin from the ages 9 to 11. According to him, he was bullied by other kids, being beaten and spat on. If he defended himself, he would get beat worse by his father. As the days went on and Rakowitz, who Monica barely knew, became more and more strange, her friends urged her to get him out of the home, since he was always saying something that they just couldn't understand. His constant rants about the government and being God didn't sit well with others, and having Church of 966 written on the walls in chicken's blood definitely didn't help. Daniel pleaded and begged in every single way that he could to get back into Monica's good graces. He tried changing her mind, but her mind was already made up. Daniel needed to go. He began to understand the severity of his living situation, and his worst fears began to creep back into his head. He would be homeless again, and all his good deeds would be forgotten. His nights of watching television hours on end, a habit he'd picked up since finally settling in a home, were close to coming to an end. I'm gonna kill her. No, I love her. I'm not gonna kill her. Those are the alarming words that exited Daniel's mouth when it became clear that he would find himself on the street again. The others who lived in the apartment at the time didn't take Daniel's plan serious. He said so much in the past that this just seemed like another crazy thing he said. On August 12th of 1989, Sylvia would flat out tell Monica what Daniel had been saying. When learning about Daniel's violent plan for her, she would laugh, walk up to Daniel in front of Sylvia, and simply say, "I'll kill you first." About a week later, Rakowitz had been walking Sylvia to a nearby PATH train and explained that he couldn't take Monica anymore. He was going to kill her the next day, and he wanted Sylvia to come back and help him dispose of the body. Sylvia, of course, wanted no parts of this and told him that he was crazy for even thinking that she would assist. She paid it no mind and she went about her business, not returning to the city until that Saturday. When she returned, she stared up at the window of Monica's apartment and saw that the lights were out. This was unusual since there was normally someone home. She could feel that something was terribly wrong. Despite her gut feelings, she pushed them aside and went upstairs anyway. As she walked up to the stairs, she could hear that Daniel's TV was powered on with the volume at full blast. She opened the door and could see Daniel's TV on the kitchen counter, the area dimly lit by the television. She checked her old room to make sure that her old belongings were in good shape, but noticed that Monica's door was closed. She knocked, but there was no answer. When she returned to the kitchen, this time entering, not just seeing it from a distance, she noticed a big pot on the stove, and inside the pot was the head of Monica Beale. The head was burnt and the eyes were shut. Shocked by the finding, Sylvia made her way to the bathroom. She stood right outside of it and looked in. What she saw turned her stomach, and the reality finally set in. Rakowitz had really done it. She saw
Welcome in,
Monica's
country boy.
ribcage
Good to
lying
see
in the
you, bud.
bathtub, with all the skin and flesh torn from the bone. Surrounding the upper torso were Monica's guts submerged in her own blood. Sylvia immediately left the apartment and ran to a nearby phone booth on Avenue A, and she called Daniel's beeper. When he returned the call, she would ask, "Daniel, you did it?" His response, "You saw it, Sylvia? I'm sorry you had to see it, but I had to do it." The two met at Tompkins Square Park, where he continued to apologize for what she had seen and further explain what had happened. Daniel went on to explain that he wasn't alone when he committed the murder. He was with a friend from a satanic church in the Brooklyn section of New York. Monica had told Rakowitz that he had to leave the apartment by the next day. If he refused to leave, her friend with a pit bull would be arriving to help her force him out. She went back to her room, and Daniel's friend would ask, "What? You haven't killed her yet?" Monica came back out and began to yell at his friend, since she wasn't fond of Daniel or the company he kept. As she walked away, turning her back to walk toward her bedroom, Daniel grabbed an extension cord and wrapped it around Monica's neck, violently pulling her toward him, and then grabbing her by the throat with his bare hands. He began to strangle the 26-year-old dancer until her body no longer moved. Monica tried her best to fight Daniel off, scratching him up and down his arms. After choking Monica to death, he stomped on her head about 10 times and then stabbed her more than 30 times. He would go on to cut off her head, cut off her arms and legs, and left her remains in the blood-soaked tub while he figured out what to do next. Rakowitz then used a solid steel pole to break her bones, followed by a 13-inch carving knife to cut up her body into small pieces. He then began flushing her remains down the toilet and saved some in the fridge. He would then consume parts of her body over the next 10 days. After that, Monica's remains began to badly decompose in the late summer heat. This prompted Daniel to begin removing the rest of the skin and flesh from the body. He then began bleaching her bones and skull to rid it of any lingering smells. As if those details aren't horrific enough, rumors began to circulate that Daniel had boiled Monica's head and flesh, made her remains into a soup that he would then pass out to the homeless people in Tompkins Square Park. He had done this many times before, only this time, anyone in Tompkins Square Park who had accepted Daniel's kind gesture could now consider themselves cannibals. He told Sylvia, who at this time hadn't said anything out of pure fear, that he would be cleaning up the scene so that she could return to the home one day for a visit. She dropped by and Monica's skull was still in the apartment, this time resembling that of an anatomical skull used in classrooms. Whenever he would recall Monica and get angry, he would spit on Monica's skull and say, "Well, hey, bitch, at least you always have a home. She looks more beautiful now than she ever did." After cleaning the apartment for hours and leaving it free of any evidence, Rakowitz then took a bucket containing Monica's skull, bones, and kitty litter to absorb any lingering smell. The bucket was then transported to the baggage check facility at the Port Authority bus terminal. He placed it in a storage locker where nobody could find it. It would be a month before authorities began to pursue any leads in Monica's disappearance. This was due to her not appearing for classes and not returning any calls from back home. This was very unusual for Monica. On top of this, Daniel had begun to talk about Monica's brutal murder and dismemberment to anybody who would listen. Information quickly spread, and it became apparent that this was no longer some Lower East Side urban legend. Even the claims that were believed to be exaggerated, like the claims of Monica's remains being turned into a soup and given to the homeless for dinner, were confirmed. They were confirmed when a man who lived in Tompkins Square Park testified that when eating the soup, he found a knuckle floating among the vegetables and potatoes. Rakowitz also claimed to have tasted her brains and thinking it tasted, quote unquote, pretty good. He told numerous people he had eaten Monica's remains more than once, despite recanting his claims later on. Rakowitz had told everyone and anyone about the murder before and after he committed it. As shocking and sadistic as the bloody scene was, there was no question. Rakowitz had officially gone off the deep end. On Monday, September 18th, detectives visited the home on 9th Street and found Sylvia there. They told her they knew what happened from a neighbor and from another member of the household, a man by the name of Sean. This, of course, was a lie. The cops knew nothing and used this tactic as a way to draw information from Sylvia, who told them everything they wanted to know. After the arrest, Daniel was brought into custody where he confessed to the brutal execution and dismemberment of Monica Beale. On February of 1991, Daniel Rakowitz was found not guilty by reason of insanity. He was then moved to a state hospital for the criminally insane, where he still resides to this day. That friend he had mentioned earlier on, a man by the name of Randy Charles Easterday, was nabbed in February of 1992 for taking part in the murder, but was released shortly after since the district attorney didn't have enough evidence to hold him. Rest in peace, Monica Beale.
You know what gets me? If he wouldn't have put that bucket in a train station locker and just thrown it in a dumpster, they would have never known. The roommates weren't saying anything.
Sorry about that. Setting up the next video. All right, so Cannibal Cook feeds people to the homeless.
Super disturbing.
Charles Game.
At least he wasn't wasteful.
Oh man, he could have started with never mind. I'm not going to finish that sentence. Lawyers.
Yeah.
He could have started with prosecutors and worked his way down from there. That way, you're getting the lowest.
I bet they taste like crap.
Happy meat's delicious meat.
I don't know. Delicious long pork. I couldn't tell you.
I mean, you've heard of Wagyu, right?
That's like, what would human Wagyu be? That would be like what, Hawaiian spam eater? Samoan, maybe? I don't know. Oh no. I'm gonna shut up right now.
That's all I got for tonight, guys. I'm out of here. I gotta run some errands.
All right, bud. Appreciate you coming by.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, swing by and chat, and somebody will drop your link in chat.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, cheers, everyone.
It's been tons of fun, bud.
Excuse me.
Absolutely.
So everybody, hey, one thing.
Hey, if you would come back.
He's gone.
Attached. I've still got his live going. I wonder how long it's going to take him to realize he's got to come back in to turn it off. Should I turn it off because he left, or should I wait until the 30-minute mark?
No.
I mean, it's 5 minutes of extra content for him.
Yeah.
As long as you don't mess up his channel, I think he'll be fine with it.
So this is a really cool channel I found recently. 3,011 subscribers. Their name is Pantheon Mythology. I noticed them about 2 months ago and had meant to get in contact with them when they had like 900 subscribers. But that was right around the same time I got my first strike. So I kind of pouted a whole bunch for a little while with my lip poked out and didn't do the thing because I didn't feel up to it. So now he's got 3,000 subscribers, and I figure it's about time to shout him out since he's doing such excellent work. He's got a ton of back videos too.
Really good
this one is his most recent.
And his name is Pantheon what?
Pantheon Mythology. 3,110 subscribers or so. Not 100% exactly on that one.
A Native American monstrosity, the Wendigo, would hunt its prey in the forests, capturing them and devouring their flesh. The embodiment of gluttony and greed, it is never satisfied after killing and consuming one person, and thus always on the hunt for new victims. cursed to wander the lands of eternity with only one thought on its mind: fulfill its uncontrollable appetite for human flesh, or else face death to starvation. This is Pantheon mythology, and this is the Wendigo. Just quickly before we begin, if you love yourself some mythology and folklore, then head over to Pantheon Apparel. You'll find designs inspired by deities, beasts, and legends from across the mythos. We're rated excellent on Trustpilot and ship worldwide. Link in the description. During the harsh and brutally cold winters in North America, tribesmen and settlers would often find themselves lost in the bitter snows and ice of the woods. Many would lose their lives, and those that didn't would find themselves suffering from intense hunger. Stranded for days, with hope of survival fading rapidly, the most desperate would resort to cannibalism. From this, those that committed the most awful of sins transformed into hideous man-eating beasts with an insatiable thirst for more. This is, as legend says, the origin of the Wendigo. Basil H. Johnston, author of Legends of the Nahanni Valley, described the Wendigo as gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing out over its skin, its complexion the ash grey of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into the sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton, recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering from suppurations of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. It's fair to say, personal hygiene nor appearance was a priority.
Sounds like we're talking about someone on the corner of big cities, of almost any big city you can think of.
That's not a
That's bad of me. Sorry.
That was pretty evil. I'm glad to have you coming over to the dark side. All right, so this is the point at which I'm going to end it for Mr. Isaac over here. So I appreciate everybody coming by, swinging through, having a good chit chat. This is not the end of the show, merely the end of his show, I suppose. And y'all have a lovely, lovely evening. No, that's M's Mad World. Which one is this? Oh, I think he did end it. Cool. That's Smoking Auditor. That's M's Mad World. Smoking Auditor. That's me. That's me. That's me. That's me. Okay, cool. Cool. Excellent. Magnificent. Gravy train. How about some of this? No, that doesn't seem to make a difference. This,
like
that just
that artwork.
disappears. Yeah. It's pretty pimping. I don't understand.
It's really cool. It looks like splatter paint, but then it's not. You know what I mean?
Right. It is weird. It looks like
That's
somebody
cool, though.
like blew it while they were putting
Yeah.
it down. I don't know. It's weird. A watercolor or something. It's wild.
Considered a near-perfect hunter, the Wendigo is said to be a specialist in stealth, able to move at incredible speeds despite the harsh winter conditions. It was also thought to be able to control the weather through dark magic, hiding the sun, leading those in the woods to get lost in the darkness. Most notably of all, however, was the Wendigo's ability to mimic the voices of other humans, an incredible skill to have when seeking out its next victim.
So you're creeping through the deep, dark woods in the middle of winter on the verge of starvation when you hear Alex Jones in the distance going, "Why don't you come over here just a little bit further? I got something really good for you." I don't see that being. I doubt that's good. Just come over and lay down by this log. You'll freeze up real good. We'll eat you in the morning.
Hey, you got to keep the meat fresh.
Right? I mean, you might as well just go out there like Alex Jones says.
I like Alex Jones. I love
Imitating
that
the
dude.
voices of friends and family, the Wendigo would lure unknowing folk into isolation, guaranteeing its next meal. It wasn't a fussy eater either, providing it was human on the menu. Men, women, and, unfortunately, children were all considered fair game. Some recounts of the Wendigo mention
Andy Pickle, are you that Andy Pickle that I've heard legends and myths about and might have read some extended Chronicles of Picklestan? This
I was just thinking that was where the name was from.
I swear I've
Welcome.
seen it before. I don't know that that's him. And even if he says it is, I might doubt it for a little while, just a general premise. It is YouTube.
I don't know, but I much like this on my screen than my actual face.
Oh yeah, sure. That's I hear tell dogs are worth 20 views. So we're gonna go with it for a little while.
Say
possess
hi,
others,
Snicks.
turning the poor
Yes,
individual
Snickers was a good boy.
too would suffer from the unquenchable hunger. An example of this possession can be linked back to a documented case from 1878, when a man named Swift Runner suffered from what is known as Wendigo psychosis.
Let me guess. It's all an exaggeration. No, seen you in streams, but not a denizen of Pickle Stand. Okay. All right. Wait. But are you the pickle of Pickle Stand lore? Is my question. I've seen you around. I just don't quite remember exactly where. I suspect it was at Samuel's or the dirty T-Rex fucker. One of them. I'm almost certain.
Dirty T-Rex.
Maybe JB. Joker voice. Shadoo. I don't know. Maybe.
This, as a modern day term, is when an individual suffers from intense cravings for human flesh. It is a syndrome that coincidentally occurs within people living around.
So you're not a pickle of the Pickle Stand pickles? Is that what you're telling me?
On the lakes of Canada and North America, where the Wendigo is said to roam. Swift Runner, then, was one of these cases. During the winter of 1878 to 1879, the Cree Native American and his family found themselves caught in the cold in the forest. After a period of time, his eldest son would tragically die of starvation. In order to avoid the same fate, Swift Runner would eat the corpse before murdering and consuming the remainder of his family.
Damn. That escalated
So
quickly.
You broke him.
no, I'm just thinking if he's not a member
Texas
of the
pickles.
Pickle Stand pickles, then clearly he's one of the Texican pickles. Clearly. I mean, duh.
Right. Okay.
5 children. Surviving the winter, he emerged from the forest alone, looking in good health. The community were understandably suspicious, and he would confess to the unforgivable acts he committed, citing possession from the evil spirit of the Wendigo as his defense. Despite this, Swift Runner was sentenced to death and hanged for his actions in 1879.
He
Despite its
obviously didn't
fearsome
run swiftly enough.
individuals who dare to confront.
Well, okay, so there's two general theories as to the nature of the Wendigo and like the postmodern approach. What we seem to be dealing with is the inherent dislike of Native Americans to cannibalism. It seems to be ubiquitous. They all disparage cannibalism to such an extent that they have anthropomorphized
Anthropomorphized?
that word, the concept of cannibalism as being such a vile and evil act that it literally creates evil by doing so. It's not a matter of just doing bad, but the individual who has done it is now always tainted forever and ever. Amen. They are now, having consumed human flesh, they are evil.
That's because of the cabin fever effect. and Native Americans would have to be very careful of that happening during winter when they ran out of food.
Sure, and I get that, and that's what I'm kind of pitching here. But also, there's another aspect here. When the Wendigo wasn't just a northeastern or even a Canadian concept, the Wendigo was known across from all the way across the U.S. just like the Thunderbird. It's a common mythos character. It had variations on the name, variations on the theme, but generally involved winter starvation and the consumption of human remains. Uh, in some stories, it's a much more aggressive, almost werewolf like creature where it uncontrollably transforms into this thing on really dark winter nights. In other tellings of it, it's just a gradual compulsion that comes over the individual so that they eventually, in these stories, the end result resembles more a skinwalker than the classic Wendigo when the transition is complete. And that's more of a like high desert Minnesota with Wyoming, Oregon type area over there. You know,
Mm,
not quite Canadian legend lore, but very very northern
close to it.
American Native American legend lore.
Yeah, like Alaska.
Well,
They
oh,
have
that's way
like
far.
no, it's too far. Really?
But they also had similar type myths. They also believed in the Wendigo and the Thunderbird, and they had a similar creature to the Skinwalker. But we'll cover that on a different show. I've
Okay.
actually got. I haven't streamed in a week, and I've
Yeah. So
been
you've got stuff.
noting videos that I wanted to go over and new creators that I've seen pretty steadily, and I was trying to figure out the right way to go about doing it.
Hmm.
And if I can figure out a way to filter feed into my other platforms, that would be really freaking cool. I can't figure that out, whatever.
Yeah. Even with a
Um,
laptop, you can't figure that out.
well, here's the thing. I'm not sure what's going on Rumble right now.
Mm.
I don't know what it looks
Oh, I
like. It
didn't even
probably
look.
looks really freakish. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, I've got a whole bunch of videos over here that I'd like to get through so that we can cover other stuff later. Like for instance, have you ever read or listened to the Robinson Crusoe?
No, I don't
I've
think
heard
so.
of the book, but I've never read it.
I can prove that there was another person on the island with Robinson Crusoe other than Friday, and that the person was either American or some sort of European that didn't job with the Irish.
Oh wow.
Um,
How can you prove that? I'm just curious.
you go to the particular passages in the book that depict the fact that there was another person that lived there and had contiguously lived there for a period of at least 2 years because it took him 2 years to set up his first actual garden. This one that he
Oh,
finds in the lowland on the backside of the island was at least 2 years advanced and appeared abandoned for a couple of weeks. And
so people had to
this
have been there.
was right, and this was immediately before he supposedly hallucinated a ship. I think he didn't hallucinate the ship. I think the ship bypassed, noticed the other guy on the island, and picked him up.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
While he was up there on top of the mountain screaming and yelling, they noticed the dude on the beach because there was one cove on that island where ships could land and get water, and it was also in the area of the
Where
most
the dude
raids.
was.
He
Oh
actually
wow.
set his fort up on the opposite side of the island so he wouldn't be noticed. I'm pretty sure there was another person on that island for at least the first year that he was there,
Did he
maybe a
know
bit
that?
longer.
Did he
No,
know that? No.
it
Oh
took him
wow.
it took him almost 2 years to get around to exploring the entire island, and it took him, I think, 5 years to actually find the other homestead that was over there. It took him 4 years to find the chest. There was a Spanish chest that was lodged in between some rocks on the north side of the island near one of the streams that outflowed. There wasn't really a place to land there. It was a kind of a waterfall off the edge, but at the bottom of the waterfall where the rocks were, there was a chest that had been lifted out of the water and set on the land. I think that guy, whoever the guy was that put that chest there, is the one that built that farm because none of the implements in the chest were useful to someone who would have been doing a farm. And we've gotten way off base. Let's get back to
No,
the
that's pretty
Wendigo.
cool though.
Is that talking about the Wendigo supposed to make it attack you?
Well, it was used as a cautionary tale for children in the deep dark night. You go to sleep and don't you go outside to pee because the Wendigo might get you, right? Sort of a boogeyman and a cautionary tale for being alone in the woods. But it's also a cautionary tale for the evils of consumption, the evils of greed and hoarding and all of that stuff. There's a lot tied into the concept of it. It's more than just eating someone's flesh.
Yeah.
Basically, he's the boogeyman to get them to behave.
One of them, one of the boogeymen. But this isn't your normal boogeyman story. Grown men fear this thing.
Mhm.
It was for a while, it was used as a defense in court that an individual had been taken by the Wendigo.
But do you know how many people? Okay, well, I do think that there are things out there like, I mean, not necessarily the Wendigo, but there are things out there that we don't necessarily see or are fully capable of wrapping our brain around the fact that they even exist. I totally believe that.
I will hide behind my puppy.
And that's how they've
Um,
literally existed for so long because people can't even grasp that.
Wendigo
This
head
is
on
my age aunt.
in its own domain. Hunters and trappers ventured into the heart of the forest, armed with rifles, and determined to end the reign of terror once and for all. Among them was Jack Fiddler, a Cree Indian renowned for his claim of having slain 14 Wendigos during his lifetime. However, Jack Fiddler's exploits took a darker turn when he and his son Joseph were brought to trial for the murder of a woman believed to be possessed by a Wendigo spirit on October the 7th, 1907. Both men pleaded guilty, explaining that the unfortunate woman was on the verge of completing the transformation into a Wendigo. They claimed that killing her with silver bullets was necessary to prevent her from turning on the tribe. Needless to say, the judge and jury viewed the notion of the woman's alleged possession with skepticism. Ultimately, the Wendigo proves to be exceedingly resilient, almost impossible to vanquish, and inevitably consumes its chosen prey. Its haunting cry reverberates across the landscape for miles, freezing the blood of all who hear it. Encountering the Wendigo is a perilous affair, with little hope of survival. Regardless of your beliefs of Wendigo folklore, this legend has been closely associated with tangible human vices and sins, such as greed, selfishness, and violence. Through the ages, the Wendigo has served as a symbolic representation of these darker aspects of human nature, manifesting in tales of individuals driven to extreme acts by their insatiable desires. The concept of the Wendigo as a symbol for human folly and moral degradation is deeply rooted in folklore's cultural and historical context. It serves as a cautionary tale, warning against the dangers of unchecked greed and the consequences of succumbing to selfish impulses. The Wendigo's insatiable appetite for human flesh mirrors the voraciousness of human greed, which knows no bounds and can ultimately lead to destruction. Moreover, the legend of the Wendigo has been interpreted as a reflection of societal taboos and the consequences of violating. In many Native American communities, cannibalism, which is central to the Wendigo legend, was considered a grave taboo and violation of the natural order. By portraying those who engage in cannibalistic acts as being transformed into monstrous Wendigos, the folklore reinforces the idea that such behaviors lead to spiritual corruption and moral decay. In this light, the notion of being possessed by the Wendigo can be seen as a metaphor for the grip that greed and selfishness can have on individuals, driving them to commit heinous acts that betray their humanity. It highlights the tragic reality that, in our world, many individuals fall prey to their own inner demons, succumbing to self-destructive tendencies and becoming consumed by their desires. Ultimately, the association of the Wendigo legend with real-world sins serves as a sobering reminder of the darker aspects of human nature and the importance of resisting temptation and maintaining moral integrity. It prompts us to reflect on our own actions and choices, reminding us of the consequences of yielding to our most base instincts.
Hey, I like them apples.
That's pretty cool. I'm always
Yeah.
there's a really like scary movie about the Wendigo. It just came out like a year or two ago. Like it's a whole ass movie they made, and that's what it's called, Wendigo. I'm pretty sure.
Let's see how this part works.
I'm subscribed to that channel.
I'm going to attempt a redirect. See if I can figure it out.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I've never done this before. Let's see.
Redirect where?
Yeah, so far so good. Here.
Oh yeah, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, so I can finally lose my channel off the little addition there.
Yeah, just hold on a second. You're throwing crazy ass fucking echoes. Hold on. What I'm doing is I am going to put my chat into all the chats. This links back to my chat. At the 2-hour mark, which is in 10 minutes, it's going to drop off everyone except for my channel, my ex, and my Rumble if it's still going. All right? All right. Okay, I can't unmute you. You muted yourself. I want to tinker with your settings.
Hello, Brandon Mitchell. Welcome.
Right. There we go. Let's see if we fix it. Nope, it's still there. That's really weird. It's like you have a limit.
Sure you have access to all that.
Well, no, if you mute yourself, I can't.
Yeah, that part. I fixed that.
Talking.
I was because I was doing my makeup and I poked myself in the damn eye with my mascara. Oh, I hate it when I do that. Like I hate it when I do that, dude. It's the worst. Like the whole and this is like when it's not the soft bristly brush type of thing. This is like it was hard plastic straight in the eyeball. Like I hate that.
All right. The reason I'm going to end y'all's streams right now is because these last 2 videos are pretty freaking long, but they're also a pretty big channel. If there was going to be a copyright issue, it would probably occur with this upcoming doohickey. And you want to tell everybody about that wonderful short that you made that cost you a warning?
I mean, it was just a funny short. And then apparently, since I made one little suggestion of him sleeping on the couch, somehow him sleeping on the couch is considered bad.
This guy made a virtually identical. All right, so I got a strike. He asked me what I got a strike for. I was like, I'll have to show you at some point in time when I come across another video like that. I'll show you. I can't find the original. Maybe they got struck. I don't know.
Okay.
So I sent it to him. So I found a different one, almost identical. I sent it to him. And I was like, the original is up and it'll stay up. But if you make a short from this, I can almost guarantee you a strike. He does it. Bam, catches a warning, attempts to appeal it. Less than 30 seconds later, it's rejected. And he's got a warning permanently on his channel now.
Sounds like I need to try again and make it more educational.
So what is it that's getting? I wonder what it is that's getting you guys a strike.
It is a violent strike. With me, it was a violent strike.
No, for me it was sexual whatever. I'll look it up
Really?
again, but it had nothing to do with violence.
Okay, because when I figured out what was the
Sexually
story behind
explicit is what they said.
one of my
Jesus.
shorts, I'm surprised that it's still up. Well, my short is not bad, but the short that it's remixed off of, and all of the ones that I've seen that go along with it, except for the one that I found and remixed off of that. So mine was like a remix off of a remix. So it's like a third party remix, right? And whenever I come across the video and finally realize what it was about, I was like, how is that up? Like, that's clearly sexual in nature. It's very suggestive. I'm so glad that I didn't get it to the point that like I literally didn't get it and failed the mission there with the remix, totally didn't get it. And then did I see that what it's about? I was like, well, how are they getting by with that? And there's so many of them.
Yeah, no, all the time, constantly. They're constantly away with that type of stuff. But if you go clip it, you get a strike. If you react to it, you get a strike. If you suggest something about that particular clip, you get a strike. They don't, the original clip. There is a chick out there with a pair of googly eyes on her boob and holes cut to sheet that bounced down a set of staircases. And there are hundreds of people catching strikes because they're clipping it. Then there's others that are clipping the same clip and not getting strikes. And none of us have any idea what the difference between them are. It's
yeah,
not
that's
like
so.
It's an AI versus a human. The AI strikes you, the human does not.
Okay, sure. But do I have to get 10,000 subscribers before I get a human to glance at them? Because I'm telling you, that horse was healthier for having eaten those vitamins and medicine.
And I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Over 100,000 million subscribers, and they still can't get a human on YouTube.
Hold on a second. Your shit just went slammed to freaking. Yeah. All right, now say something.
Some people, what's his name? He's bald. He's in Canada. He got a strike on something, and then it took him like 3 months to finally get a human to look at his video, and he's a 1 million+ channel.
Simon Whistler?
No, Ollie or something like that, whatever his name is. Does reactions, does traveling. He just started the traveling thing like the last year or two. But he's from Turkey and he moved to Canada.
Oh. I watch a lot of true crime
bad
channels too, so it's like a majority of my day is like spent watching true crime stuff.
So Stefan can somebody write that in chat? I can't remember that dude's name. He's huge. He's a huge YouTuber. He goes all over the place doing all kinds of crap.
Okay. So here's the thing. If I don't think, but I'm subscribed to, but maybe like a handful, and that's me being nice, of channels that are 1 million+ in their subscribers. Like honestly, I really don't like to be subscribed to channels that are like astronomically big. They got enough fucking people watching them. I can go get my attention elsewhere where it's needed.
Well, also, if they've got over 1 million subscribers, your subscription isn't required for you to see their content. For me to see Mandatory Carries content, I have to be subscribed, because otherwise YouTube will never, ever
suggest it.
To see Flow State's content, I must go back and check weekly or so to make sure I am still subscribed, because I am regularly unsubscribed from it
and not get notifications. Yeah,
and they don't tell me shit. I never get a notification from Flow State. Other than his shorts, I get shorts notifications, but never, ever do I get a live stream notification. It comes up.
Are you a member?
Yeah.
Really,
dude?
Okay. See, because I definitely get them. That's weird.
You gotta.
I still don't get them.
you got to go into your YouTube customization thing and turn on gifts so people can give you a membership to a channel.
And then
if
just
you
go sit over there in the chat.
Just wait patiently.
It'll
go
happen.
to Flow State's channel and
What's
click
up, Fat
join.
Vicky? Well, the
If
bell
you
ring
go,
being on hit and miss as fuck depending on the channel. Like with you, I got to go back and check your channel and see what the fuck you uploaded, because you're hit and miss on the uploads, and then again, I don't get notifications typically, so that shit happens. But with Flow State, I never get live stream notifications that I've ever noticed. Not once. Like even when I was trying.
Carrie's comment, that was awesome. I was just here looking for a DMX song. So then I'm like, I've been visiting and Carrie fucking looking for what DMX song, Carrie? Now you got to tell us. He's just like, oh, then I noticed that y'all were live. So I was like, what's up?
I'm fixing to go into my YouTube slave class bit, which I've been kind of working on a little bit. It's not fit for human consumption yet. And this is literally going to be like YouTube slave class 0.01.
Nice.
Right? We're not even in the early beta stage at all. This is just a concept that I'm going to float here in a minute, but it's literally to the people that it matters to.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not good at
No,
this.
it makes sense. It makes sense. Makes more sense than that bullshit that happened to me the other day with that bitch with the fucking change at the Dollar Tree. That pissed me off, man. That made no sense.
what happened at the Dollar Tree now?
Okay, so we're going through the checkout and the people in front of us pay with cash, and then my friend pays with his debit card so that he can get cash back, and he gets literally $20. And before she gives him the $20 bill, she makes it a point to tell him that the next time he comes through there and he wants cash back, he needs to let her know, because he just emptied out her register, like, cleaned it. She's empty as shit. Now she's got to go get more change. I was like, we both was like, yeah, okay, whatever. We go to get in the car and we're going down the street. And I was like, so that $20 bill was like all she fucking had? No, I know that's not what was going on. So then I was like, the mental gymnastics, like, what was that even about?
Hold on. That is the Fifth Element. That is a quote from the Fifth Element. What's that dude's
I'm a meat
name?
popsicle. Bruce Willis.
It's Willis. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis
says this. Bruce Willis.
Yeah, identify yourself. Negative. I am. I'm not human. I'm a meat popsicle.
That's funny.
I really like that film. A lot of people didn't. All right, I'm fixing to end y'all's streams. You got anything you want to say about it?
To everyone who came to my chat, you're more than welcome to come to CaucAsian Sasquatch's channel. The party will still be going on. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Have a good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and stay safe and have fun.
Amy, do the thing.
Yeah. Do the thing like what? Well, nobody's ever in my chat because they know it's like dead as hell. But if you go over to the CaucAsians chat, I'm usually paying attention.
Right.
No? Right. Wrong.
Good. Excellent job. Trying to figure out which one of these buttons I need to mash first. I appreciate everybody coming in on whatever channel you happen to find me on. But if you happen to find a channel that you like and the reviews that I'm doing with these various channels, because they are quite eclectic, make sure you tell them Sasquatch sent you. They don't know who I am, so it'll confuse the hell out of them and tickle the hell out of me. I thank y'all, each and every one of you, like brother and sister.